I met Lucas at my cousin's graduation party I was 26 and worked at a used bookstore downtown. Spent my days amongst stacks of old books, smell of damp paper, customers who came in just to hide from the rain. He sold insurance, showed up at the party in a dress shirt with that way of knowing how to talk to everyone, held my glass when I went to the bathroom, asked if I liked Bob Dylan, said his grandmother had a vinyl collection and that I needed to see it. 3 weeks later, we were already talking until dawn. He'd send pictures of clouds, knew the names of all his grandmother's plants, rue, snake plant, jasmini. I thought this was it. Someone who noticed the world in the same crooked way I did. The first time he took me to meet his grandmother, she made cornmeal cake and said I looked like a girl from a good family. Lucas held my hand on the way out and said his grandmother had loved me. I felt chosen. 2 months later, he suggested we move in together. It wasn't a proposal. It was logical construction. Makes sense. You spend half the week here. We split rent. I help you with bills. I agreed. We rented a small apartment in Battelle, ground floor, window to the street. He chose the furniture. I chose the plants, violets, ferns, a monstera that he said took up too much space. In the beginning, everything felt light. He'd cook on Sundays, we'd watch movies in the living room, sleep spooning. But soon he started commenting on my salary, barely enough to pay the credit card, right? Or, if you worked at a real office, we could travel more. I'd laugh, kind of embarrassed, thought it was just his way of talking. When I turned 27, he gave me a pressure cooker as a gift. Said it was for me to learn to cook real food, that instant noodles every day wasn't life. I put the cooker in the cupboard, never used it. 6 months later, he started coming home late, 2-3 times a week. Said it was work, clients who only closed deals after hours, beers with the team. I believed him, or pretended to believe. One afternoon, cleaning the bathroom, I found his phone open on the sink. Wasn't going to look, but the screen lit up by itself. Notification, a message. It was her. She wasn't his ex. Never had been. She was sending voice messages, laughing, talking about their apartment, about the trip they were taking in December. She called him love. He responded with heart emoji. My stomach turned. I stood there, frozen, holding the phone with my hand shaking. Heard the shower turn off. Put the phone back, left the bathroom, sat on the couch, short breath. Lucas came out of the shower with a towel around his waist, saw my face and stopped. What's wrong? I showed him the screen. He didn't even deny it, just made that face, like tiredness, like annoyance. You knew I wasn't really going to leave her, right? I stared at him, wanted to scream, cry, throw something, but nothing came out. Just a deep, quiet, heavy emptiness. He continued, we were together before you. You came in the middle. I even tried to choose, but ... I don't know. I like you, but with her, it's different. 6 months. I lived 6 months thinking it was just me. He went to the bedroom. I stayed in the living room, sitting in the dark, listening to the noise from the street outside, dog barking, car passing, people laughing. That night, I slept on the couch. He didn't even ask why. And it was there, in that silence of a shared apartment, that I understood. Real love doesn't make you feel small. I blocked him the next day. Dawn, still in pajamas, sitting on the living room floor, fingers trembling on the screen. Blocked on WhatsApp, Instagram, Telegram, deleted the photos. Not all. Left 3. Don't know why. Maybe to remember that it had been real. Lucas tried calling from another number. I didn't answer. He sent a message through his cousin, asking to talk calmly. Didn't respond. He showed up at the bookstore once, at lunch. I left through the back door. Spent a whole week without sleeping properly. Would wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, thinking about all the times he'd lied, the trips he hadn't taken with me, the Saturdays he'd disappeared, the way he'd look away when I asked about his day. I was an idiot. My sister called. She lived in Londrina, had 2 small kids, worked part-time at a school. Cried for 3 hours on the phone with her. She listened to everything. Didn't judge me. Didn't say I told you so. Just said, come here. Stay a few days. I went. Spent 2 weeks at her place. Slept on the couch. Helped with the kids. Cooked beans. Swept the yard. Her routine calmed me. Coffee at 7. Lunch afternoon kids bath at 6. Everything worked. Everything made sense. One night, after the kids were asleep, we sat in the yard with cheap wine and cigarettes. Neither of us smoked properly. Do you think I'm stupid? I asked. I think you trusted, she replied. And trust isn't stupidity. I went back to Curitiba with a clearer head. Started therapy 2 weeks later. The therapist's name was Angela. She was direct, wore round glasses, had no pity for me. Asked why I'd stayed so long without questioning. I couldn't answer. She gave me an exercise. Write him a letter. You won't send it. Just write. I wrote. 10 pages. Torn, crooked, full of curse words. When I finished, I burned it on the stove, watched the paper turn to ash, and felt a strange relief, like I'd spit out poison. Donated the jacket he'd left in the closet, threw his toothbrush in the trash. Changed the Wi-Fi password. Small things, but they made me feel like I owned the space again. Went back to going out alone. Movies on Wednesdays because it was cheaper. Bookstore on Saturdays. Bar near Holmes, where I'd order beer and read old newspapers. Nobody knew me. Nobody asked. I liked that. But there were bad nights. Nights I cried in the shower. Nights I looked at my phone waiting for his message. Nights I wondered if she was prettier, funnier, more enough than me. Angela told me in one of those difficult sessions, he didn't choose her because you weren't enough. He chose to lie because he wasn't enough. I kept that phrase. 3 months later, I still woke up sometimes with a tight chest. But I also woke up wanting coffee, wanting to buy fresh bread, to plant a new succulent in the window pot. One afternoon, passing by the used record store, I went in, bought a Chico Buarque vinyl I'd always wanted, got home, put it on, sat on the floor, and listened to the whole album, from start to finish, and thought, I'm going to be okay. Not today. Butch, someday. It took 6 months to be able to listen to music without remembering him. 3 more to stop stalking her Instagram. She had an open profile, posted pictures of breakfast, trips, their dog. I blocked her. Again. For the 5th time, work at the bookstore saved me. I'd spend the day organizing shelves, helping customers, reading back covers of old books. The owner, Mr. Mario, a man in his 70s who smoked a pipe and wore wool vests, noticed when I was down. Didn't ask. Just left a cup of tea on my desk and disappeared. I met Jonah on one of those days. She came into the bookstore looking for a Clarice Lispector book, Agua Viva, old edition. I found it. We talked about literature, about Curitiba, about how hard it is to live alone in this city. She gave me her number, said if I ever wanted to go out, just call. We went out 2 weeks later, small bar, live music, cold beer. She was a lawyer, worked with family law, had just gotten out of an 8-year marriage. We understood each other quickly. Mind-controlled money, she told me. I earned more than him, but he managed it. In the end, I didn't even know how much I had in the account. I listened quietly, thought about Lucas, about the way he commented on my salary, about the way he said I didn't know how to save. And how did you get out? I asked. One day, I woke up and realized I was paying to be humiliated. She told me about the group meetings every Tuesday, 7 at night, in a borrowed room at the church near Bomfim. Support for women who'd been through abusive relationships. I got scared. Abusive. I'd never thought of it that way. He hadn't hit me, hadn't called me names, just lied, just made me feel invisible. But I went. There were 6 women sitting in a circle, folding chairs, reheated coffee in the thermos. The mediator's name was Sylvia. She was about 50, spoke softly but firmly. Each one told a bit. Betrayal, control, hidden debt, veiled violence. When it was my turn, I froze, thought, My story isn't serious enough. But then I looked at them and saw that nobody was judging, so I told. The phone on the sink. The 6-month lie. The way he'd said you knew, right? As if I were stupid. When I finished, Sylvia said, gaslighting. He made you doubt your own perception. I didn't know that had a name. I left there with a list of phone numbers, public defender's office, women's police station, psychological care centers. Kept it at the bottom of my purse, along with the bus ticket and old gum. That night, I sat on the bed, grabbed the notebook Angela had given me and wrote, I thought I'd found the love of my life until I discovered the truth. The truth was, he never saw me. 2 weeks later, Lucas sent me a message from an unknown number. Just one line. I messed up. Sorry. I read it. Reread it. Spent 5 minutes staring at the screen. Then I deleted it and blocked him. Didn't respond. Didn't cry. Just felt a deep, old tiredness leaving my body. He didn't deserve even my anger. He didn't give up. A week after the message, Lucas showed up in front of the bookstore. Late afternoon, sky kind of orange, people coming back from work. I was locking the door when I saw him leaning against the post, hands in pockets, that lost puppy face. My stomach tightened. I just want to talk, he said, before I could say anything. There's nothing to talk about. 5 minutes. Please. There's something about please that disarms. I knew it was a mistake, but I let him. We went to the square, sat on a bench. He talked nonstop. That he'd broken up with her, that he'd been an idiot, that he never meant to hurt me, that he was in therapy now, that he'd realized how important I was. I listened to everything, and when he finished, I said, you lied to me for 6 months. Made me believe I was crazy for being suspicious. And now you want me to believe you changed in 2 weeks? He lowered his head. I know it'll take time, but I wanted to try. I got up. He grabbed my arm. Not hard, but he grabbed it. Let me go. He let go. Stayed there, sitting, watching me walk away. On the way home, I cried. Not because I wanted to go back, but because it was exhausting to have to defend myself from someone who'd already hurt me. In therapy, I told Angela everything. She asked, what did you feel when you saw him? Fear and anger and ... pity. Pity for him or for you, I thought. Couldn't answer. She continued, are you afraid he'll insist? Yes? Then we need to talk about boundaries and safety. It was the first time someone used that word with me. Safety. Angela helped me make a plan. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers. Don't leave work alone at the same time every day. Tell someone when I got home. Seemed like overkill. But she said, it's not overkill, it's care. Lucas tried 3 more times. A message through my sister's Facebook. A bouquet of flowers at the bookstore. I gave them to customers. A long, dramatic email asking for one last chance to explain. I didn't respond to any at the Tuesday group. I told what was happening. Jonah said, that's harassment. He's not threatening me, I said. Doesn't need to threaten to be harassment. He's not respecting your no, Sylvia added. If he continues, you can file a police report. Doesn't need to be serious, just gets recorded. And if he escalates, you already have history. I didn't want to get to that point, but I kept the information. 2 weeks later, he stopped. Don't know if he gave up, if he found someone else, if he finally understood, but he stopped. And I, for the first time in months, breathed. I started doing things I'd stopped doing. Went back to the gym near home, one of those cheap ones with old treadmills and scratched mirrors. Bought a new notebook, hardcover, and started writing again. Not about him, about me, about what I wanted from here on. Made a list. Learn to drive, travel alone, not apologize for wanting to be alone. The first one I started the next week. Paid for driving school in installments on my credit card. The instructor was a grumpy old man who got mad when I mixed up the gears, but I liked it. Having to concentrate, not thinking about anything except clutch, rearview mirror, turn signal. passed on the second try. When I left the DMV with the license in hand, I called my sister crying. I did it, was all I said. She laughed. I laughed too. That night, I went alone to a Japanese restaurant I'd always wanted to try. Sat at the counter, ordered salmon, drank sake. The chef asked if I was waiting for someone. I said, no, just myself. He smiled. I ate slowly, looking at the street through the window, watching people pass, and thought, maybe we only learn this by bleeding. But after the blood comes new skin. 6 months after blocking Lucas for the last time, I woke up on a Saturday without that weight on my chest. It wasn't magic. It was accumulation of better days, unhurried coffee, book by the window, sun hitting the monstera I'd bought for the balcony. I still went to therapy, still went to the group on Tuesdays. But now I also did other things. Movies alone, ceramics class on Tuesday nights. Discovered I was terrible, but I liked it. Happy hour with Jonah and the girls from the group. It was at one of those happy hours that Carla, one of the women from the group, separated for 2 years. Mother of twins, suggested we could take a trip, just us. Weekend at the beach. We agreed immediately. We went to Garodoba in October, 6 women in a 3-bedroom Airbnb near the shore. We split groceries, cooked together, stayed up late talking on the porch, drinking wine and laughing about things. Only those who've been through it understand. One night, sitting on the sand, Jonah asked, do you think we'll be able to trust again? We all got quiet. Then, Sylvia said, I think we'll be able to trust differently. With boundaries, with eyes open. I kept that phrase too. I came back to Curitiba feeling whole. Not healed. I'd learned that didn't exist. But whole. Like mended clothes that still fit. At work, Mr. Mario called me to talk. Said he was retiring at the end of the year, that he wanted to sell the bookstore, and that I had first option to buy. I don't have money for that, I said, but you have love for the place. And that's worth something. He showed me the numbers, said I could pay in installments, that the rent was cheap, that the clientele was loyal. I promised to think about it. That night, I sat with paper and pen and did the math. It didn't add up easily, but it also wasn't impossible. I called my sister, told her. She said, take it, even if it's scary. Take it. I signed the contract 2 weeks later. The bookstore was now mine. Spent the first month arranging everything my way, painted the wall light blue, put little pots in the window, organized the shelves by color instead of alphabetical order. Customers hated it, but I thought it was beautiful. Created an Instagram account, started posting pictures of books, phrases I liked. Traffic increased slowly, but it increased. One afternoon, a customer came in looking for 100 Years of Solitude. I found the book. We talked about Garcia Marquez, about translation, about solitude. He had light eyes, messy beard, easy smile. When he went to pay, he asked, do you accept book recommendations? Always. He wrote down 3 titles on a paper. When he left, I saw he'd left his number on the back. I stared at that paper for a while, thought about throwing it away, thought about keeping it. I kept it. 2 weeks later, I sent a message just to thank him for the recommendation. I'd already read one of the books, liked it. He responded quickly. We started talking. His name was Meek. He worked with graphic design, lived alone downtown, had a cat named Socrates, liked Iranian cinema, and baked bread at home. He asked me out for coffee. I went. We spent 3 hours talking. He asked about the bookstore, about Curitiba, about my life. Didn't ask about past relationships. I liked that. Saying goodbye, he said, I enjoyed meeting you. Me too. Can I call you again? You can. We saw each other more times. Movies, walk in, Barrigui Park, Sunday lunch. He was kind, didn't rush anything, didn't demand answers, let me choose the pace. One Friday, after dinner at his place, he made gnocchi. It was delicious. We kissed. It was good. It was light. It was without fear. But that night, when I got home, I cried. Not from sadness, from shock, because I'd felt something Something good, and that scared me. In therapy, I told Angela, "Why do you think you cried?" She asked, "Because I'm afraid of making the same mistake again." "And what if you don't?" I was quiet. "And what if you just live?" She continued. "Maybe I'm ready to love. This time, with eyes open." Miguel and I started dating without rushing, without moving in together, without photo keychains, without posting on Instagram, just existing. He'd come to the bookstore sometimes, sit on the stool near the register, read while I helped customers. We'd have dinner together 2-3 times a week, sleep at each other's place once in a while. But each one had their space. I liked that. He respected when I said I wanted to be alone. Didn't make drama when I traveled with the girls from the group. Split bills without wait, without theater. Asked what I wanted before deciding anything. Seemed like little, but to me it was everything. The bookstore started making small profit. Not enough to live comfortably, but enough to pay bills and have a little left over. Started investing in events, book launches, reading club, poetry afternoon with open mic. Clientele grew, new people started showing up. On one of those poetry afternoons, a girl about 20 years old read a text about an abusive relationship, voice trembling, hand holding the paper tightly. When she finished, the silence was heavy. Then everyone applauded. I went to talk to her afterward. "Offered water," said the text had been brave. She cried. I hugged her, gave her the group number, Sylvia's, the public defenders. "You're not alone," I said. She thanked me. And there, in that tight hug, I understood that my story hadn't been for nothing. I bought a car, used, old, 2012 Gull, silver, with a dent in the door. But it was mine. Paid cash with money I'd saved. When I got the key, I sat in the seat, put my hands on the wheel, and took a deep breath. I got here, took my sister and nephews for a ride. They got super excited, asked to go to McDonald's. We went, ordered fries, milkshake, ate with pleasure. Paid the bill, didn't weigh it. Didn't think, should I? Just paid. On the way back, my sister said, "You're okay, right?" "I am. Really, really." And it was true. But not everything was easy. There was a week when the bookstore register didn't balance. 200 reais were missing. I went through everything. Receipts, statements, control notebook, didn't find it. Spent 2 days thinking I'd messed up, that I didn't know how to manage, that I was going to go broke. Miguel noticed, asked what was happening. I told him. He said, "It happens. You'll learn." Didn't say I'll help you pay. Didn't say I'll fix it. Just said I'd learn. And I learned, adjusted the controls, bought a simple cash register system, asked for help from the accountant Jonah had recommended. Next month, it balanced perfectly. When I saw this statement matching, I wanted to call someone and scream, but I didn't, just breathed. Stayed there, alone in the bookstore, after hours, looking at the numbers and thinking, I did it. One Saturday afternoon, Miguel asked me to meet his mother. I got nervous. He noticed and said, "You don't have to go if you don't want to." But she asked, and I'd like it. I went. His mother was a retired teacher, lived in an apartment full of plants, cats, and books, made lasagna, treated me like a person, didn't ask invasive questions, didn't judge me for anything. At the end of lunch, she held my hand and said, "I'm happy Miguel found someone who likes books. He's always been kinda lonely." I smiled. On the way back, Miguel asked, "So, I liked her. She liked you. We were quiet. A held my hand. I let him." That night, alone at home, I thought about Lucas, not with anger, not with longing, just thought. Thought about who I was when I met him. Thought about who I was now and realized I had become someone else. Not better, not worse, just different. More attentive, more careful, more whole. Opened the notebook, wrote, "Real love doesn't make you feel small." And today I know that Miguel and I completed a year together in September. We didn't have a party, just had dinner at home. He cooked, I brought wine. We watched an old movie, slept in each other's arms. Simple, right? But something was bothering me. Miguel drank, not every day, not in a scandalous way, but he drank wine at Sunday lunch, beer after work, whiskey when he went out with friends, and sometimes he drank too much. He wasn't violent, wasn't rude, just got slow, distant, kind of spaced out, and that scared me. I tried to ignore it. After all, he was kind, respectful, had never disrespected me. But something in me started to be alert. One Friday, we went to dinner at an Italian restaurant downtown. He ordered wine, then another, started talking loud, laughing too much, interrupting what I was saying. I stayed quiet, just observing. When the bill came, he looked, made a confused face, and pushed it to me. "Today's on ya, right? I forgot my wallet." My stomach turned. Looked at the bill, 190 reais. Looked, H-E-M. He was on his phone, distracted, as if he hadn't just thrown the bill at me without even warning. I paid, but something in me shut down. On the way back, I stayed quiet. He asked if I was okay. I said yes, but I wasn't. Got home, sat on the bed, grabbed the notebook, wrote the last bill. Again, different, but the same. And then I understood the pattern was trying to come back. Not the same way, not with the same words, but coming back. I scheduled an emergency therapy session. Angela saw me on a Monday morning online. "What happened?" she asked. I told her the drinking, the bill, the feeling of paying to be accepted again. She was quiet, then said, "Do you think he did it on purpose?" "I don't know. Maybe not, but it hurt the same way. And what do you want to do?" "I don't know," I said. I like him, but I'm afraid of accepting things I swore I'd never accept again. "Then you need to talk to him. Clearly, without romanticizing, without excusing. Just talk." I got scared. Scared of overreacting. Scared of ruining something good. Scared of being wrong. But the bigger fear was another. Fear of betraying myself again. I asked Miguel to talk on Saturday. We met at Baragui Park, mid-afternoon, sun hitting the pine trees, sat on a bench near the lake. I was direct. "I need to talk about Friday." He frowned. "What about Friday?" "The bill, you threw it at me without warning, and you drunk too much." He sighed. "I forgot my wallet. My bad. Wasn't on purpose. But you didn't even ask if I could pay, just pushed it. And that made me feel bad. Bad. Why? We split things, but we didn't split. I paid alone, and you were drunk." He was quiet, looked at the lake, then said, "Okay, I overdid the drinking, but it wasn't that bad. And we always work out the bills, don't we?" "It's not about the bill," I said. "It's about not wanting to repeat a pattern." "What pattern?" "Of accepting things that hurt me just because I'm afraid of being alone." He looked at me, long. Didn't understand, but saw I was serious. "I don't want to hurt you," he said. "I know, but you drink too much sometimes, and that scares me, and I need you to know that." He lowered his head, was quiet for a while, then asked, "And what do you want?" "I want you to pay attention to this, to take care of this, not for me, for you, because if you don't take care of it, I won't be able to stay." It was the hardest thing I'd said to someone I loved, because it was a boundary, and boundaries hurt. He didn't respond right away. We stayed there, sitting, watching the ducks, swimming, the kids, running, life happening around us. Then he said, "I'll think about it." It wasn't a promise. It wasn't an answer, but it was honest. We said goodbye there. No kiss, no tight hug, just a hand touch. I spent the whole week without hearing from him. No message, no call. Was afraid I'd lost him, but was more afraid of losing myself again. At the Tuesday group, I told what had happened. Jonah said, "You did the right thing," Sylvia added. "Now you wait. And if he doesn't come with real change, you already know the answer." Went home with a tight chest, but with the certainty that I'd done what needed to be done. This time, I chose me. McGill called me on a Thursday, 10 days after that conversation at the park. His voice was different, lower, more serious. Can you meet me? I can. We met at the same cafe where we'd met over a year ago. He arrived first, had already ordered coffee for me. I sat, stayed quiet, waiting. He started. I went to 2 AA meetings this week. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if I'm an alcoholic, he continued, but I know I drink more than I should, and I know it's interfering. My work, my life, and us. I looked at him. I don't want to lose you, he said, but I also don't want you to stay with me out of fear. So I'm going to take care of this? Really? Don't promise it'll be quick, but I promise I'll try. I held his hand on the table. Thank you, I said, for listening to me. Thank you for not giving up before talking. We stayed there, drinking coffee, talking about small things. We didn't go back to being the same, but we went back to being true. Miguel started attending meetings, stopped drinking. It wasn't easy for him. There was relapse, there was crisis, there were days he wanted to give up, but he didn't give up, and neither did I. We continued together, slowly, without moving in together, without rushing, learning to be two whole people, not two halves, looking to fit. The bookstore kept growing, opened a section of donated used books where people could take them for free, became a meeting point. Broke students, elderly people who wanted company, people who just wanted to sit and read. Hired a girl to help me, Carla, the one who'd read the poem about abuse. She was in literature school, needed a job, didn't pay much, but she accepted. Said she wanted to work somewhere that made sense. One December afternoon, sitting on the register stool, watching the sunlight hitting the shelves, I thought about everything that had happened. Lucas, the lie, the pain, the escape, the reconstruction. Miguel, the boundary, the choice, and thought, I did this. Not alone. There was my sister, Jonah, Angela, the group, the girls, but I had done it. I had chosen not to disappear. I had chosen to speak. I had chosen me. Grabbed the film camera I'd bought months ago, the one I still didn't really know how to use. Pointed it at the bookstore window. Adjusted the focus. The street outside, blurred, coming into shape. Clicked. The mechanical sound. The record. The choice to look. That night, I went home. Put the pressure cooker on the stove, not to cook, just to look at it. It was there, whole, quiet, thought about throwing it away. But I didn't. It was a memory, not of the pain, but of when I started to scream. Sat on the porch with a glass of wine, a book on my lap, and thought, real love doesn't make you feel small. Real love leaves you whole. And today, finally, I know that. If you're living through something similar, know this, you're not alone. Seek support. Call the crisis line. Look for the public defender's office. Join support groups. Get therapy. It doesn't have to be physical violence to be violence. It doesn't have to be shouting to be abuse. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And you deserve to be whole. You know, I learned something. We only discover what we deserve when we stop accepting what hurts. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. And there was a lot of crying along the way. But today I look back and see that every step was worth it. Every no I said, every boundary I set, every time I chose myself. Real love doesn't make you small, doesn't make you doubt, doesn't make you pay to be accepted. Real love leaves you whole. And if my story touched you in any way, if you saw yourself in any piece of it, know that you're not alone. We heal together, strengthen together, rebuild together. So I ask, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos, and comment down below where you're watching from and what this story awakened in you. Your presence here matters, and I want to build this support network with you. See you in the next video, okay? Big hug. And remember, you deserve to be whole.